And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Thursday, September 16th. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories read here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. And here are the news stories from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. The University of California, Riverside is a platinum sponsor this year of the annual conference of the Society for the Advancement of Chicanos and Native Americans in Science, which brings together many of the nation's best undergraduate students in the sciences. About 3,500 science undergraduates, graduate students, and professors from colleges and universities across the country will attend the conference September 30th through October 3rd at the Anaheim Convention Center in California. Nearly all the students are from underrepresented minorities in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields and looking for graduate programs to further their studies. For more information, you can go to http://newsroom.ucr.edu. We'll put that up so you can get that URL and follow up on it if you'd like. U.S. District Judge Charles C. Lovell will hear arguments for summary judgment in a lawsuit filed by a coalition of conservation groups, Native Americans, and Montanans against Yellowstone National Park and the Gallatin National Forest for harming wild bison and associated species. That argument will be at 10 a.m. on September 21st at the Helena, Montana Federal Courthouse, 901 Front Street. And the plaintiffs are Western Watersheds Project, Buffalo Field Campaign, Tatanka Oyate, Gallatin Wildlife Association, Native Ecosystems Council, Yellowstone Buffalo Foundation, and 3 Montana residents. The plaintiffs have asked for court review of both agencies' refusal to analyze and disclose new information in changing circumstances relating to bison management and brucellosis. Members of several Vermont tribes have renewed hope for state recognition, which some have been seeking for decades, and the Abenaki tribe needs to sell its signature baskets and other crafts as Indian-made. A new state law creates a process for a Vermont commission to recommend tribal recognition, which the Abenaki hope will also allow them to seek federal funding for education and other benefits. Under federal law now in place, artisans must be members of state or federally recognized tribes or be certified as non-member Indian artisans by a tribe to sell their wares as Indian-made. At least 1,700 people in Vermont say they are direct descendants of the Western Abenaki tribes who inhabited all of Vermont and New Hampshire and parts of Maine, Quebec, and New York for hundreds of years before the arrival of Europeans. The Oklahoma Cherokee Nation's October History Talk will feature Melissa Gower presenting legal and historical roots of healthcare for American Indians and Alaskan Natives. That presentation is set for October 22nd, starting at 10:30 a.m. to noon in the Cherokee Nation's Osoyo Room, located behind the Cherokee Nation gift shop in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. Gower is the group leader of the Cherokee Nation Health Services Group. Her talk will highlight the fact that health care for American, Indian, and Alaskan Natives often comes from a system that is separate and unique from the mainstream America. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency says 2 settlements reached recently will help address uranium contamination on the Navajo and Hopi reservations. The agency says Real Alga Mining, LLC, has agreed to investigate levels of contamination at one of its sites near Gallup, New Mexico. The work is expected to cost at least $1 million. Under a separate agreement, the U.S. Bureau of Indian Affairs will assess a 30-acre Tuba City dump to determine how best to clean up contaminated soil, groundwater, and waste. The BIA expects to spend $1.5 million on the feasibility study. EPA Regional Administrator Jared Blumenfield in San Francisco says the actions are part of a coordinated effort to clean up waste from past uranium mining operations. Utah's tribe has received a $1.4 million federal stimulus grant to fund broadband service to the Uintah and Oreilles Reservation. The award was among 35 grants totaling $482 million, announced this week by the United States Commerce Secretary Gary Locke. The funds are part of a $7 billion Recovery Act initiative to set up or expand access to broadband services in Indian country. In addition to the grant, the tribe secured an additional $640,000 in matching funds. A Commerce Department news release states the tribe will use the funding to improve broadband access to about 40 reservation community institutions. The expanded service will allow for enhanced distance learning, telehealth services, and will have public safety uses as well. A Shanto, Arizona woman is the new Miss Indian Nations. The Bismarck Tribune says Yvetra Thin was crowned the 18th annual Miss Indian Nations during the recent United Tribes International Powwow in Bismarck, North Dakota. Thin is a member of the Navajo Nation. Runners-up were Christina Thomas of Nevada, Carmen Silam of Washington, and Suni Rose Wilkinson of North Dakota. Miss Congeniality was Brianna Herman of Rosebud, South Dakota. And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank you for joining with us. Miigwech, and come back again soon.